Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 10th. And well, we were just talking about this the other day when we were looking at another chart, and we talked about how my favorite on the short side is when you see the cyan do a DOC spread, which is moving above the red. At the same time, you're having the green cross below, and then you see the orange spike above 13.5. Now, we did that right here as we had tested the green ABM, and should produce a little bit more weakness because we actually saw the shakeout, and this was the concern from before, that the shakeout was going to make a lower peak going forward on higher highs. It's always problematic, and just that it shows it doesn't have quite the strength. Still wasn't that dramatic of an event because it was still, you came right down to the green ABM, supported, and moved back above. And again, this just makes it easy when you have the ABM values up there to just utilize as movement points, particularly when we were that far above the yellow, which was at the 76 range, and then you have various ones in between, and we dropped all the way to the bottom of the range. You do have a complete steel reset, so this is going to produce a new buy configuration, and the fact that the extreme only dipped right here below the cyan minus 45 line means that we didn't get into that extreme oversold, which usually leads to more pronounced weakness. So the question will be how far our shakeout dips, whether we go full negative or not, which doesn't look to be the case at this particular point, though. There was a nice shockwave move. Hadn't seen it in a while, so that was good. And again, this just shows the volatility that politics can have within the unknown, because basically it was an indication that, tax reform's not happening. But in the absence of tax reform, is the economy suffering? No. So it's a balancing act. I think this just is part of that volatility. But we'd already talked about we needed, I think we could even go back. We had positive extreme from right over here. It had already been filled in. So, that's all we're doing is going back to the same spots. I think for the NASDAQ, it's a little bit cleaner. You had the one that was right here, so that one's already been filled back in place, and then we had the original breakout move, which goes all the way back over here. So I think it's just part and parcel of normal trading range when you're getting this kind of up move. I think it was an opportunity to jump in. The catalyst supporting this and the turnaround that we saw coming back, nice bounce in the euro. So they just go ahead and start pumping the euro, and that helps keep things stable. You'll love the interactions here. Finally a little bit of retrace from TLT. It's just a ridiculous move, but everything, it wasn't overbought though. That's the thing. There's plenty of money coming into it. We just barely got a yellow warning right here at the peak. And then we shot up above the 13.5 with the orange, and the DOC spread at the exact same time. It's the exact same configuration as the market. So it's a clear short signal when that happens. And likewise, look at this massive move. Though the difference is here, you have the cyan so far underneath red. We expected just a teeny bit of weakness with the steel dipping below, but now you've got a full reset. In fact, it could be a little bit too far. This has got plenty of extremes, but they're talking about this turmoil in Saudi Arabia. It's not probably as extreme as some people think. Yes, there's a bit of a war going on between Iran and Saudi Arabia. But also amongst internals in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of this has to do with terrorism, support and funding for it, not so much about consolidation of power. Gold, yes, nice little pop. But see, again, we don't see much from a sustainability on this unless it breaks back here, and you really don't have the inflation yet. Now, if oil remains at the elevated level, then I think we can start to talk about the potential for. Now, turning to the ES, well, this kind of tells the whole story right here. Look at the range for the day previous, and then yesterday's action, just like triple the amount of activity. And we can go ahead and enlarge that a bit back now because we don't need it that small, but we ended up with the short signal, and that just drove us to the lows. We ended up with a couple of buy configurations that all they did was take us back to the 50% range. where the new short signal came in, made new lows, and we ended up with the reset buys here. The problem with these buys is they didn't look all that attractive, except for the one right here where the steel moves to above the 13.5, which is sort of the equivalent of it coming from underneath, and then you would watch for a dramatic move, and that's exactly what we got. And then critical at the 50% mark to have your protection right there at the orange, which is like the 38, and it continued on, which is fine. And then it peaked out again. You had a similar peak right here coming through, but as long as you had the continuation of the rising blue and azure, you're not going to get a fade until that flattens out, and that's when it did right here at the end of market, and we've retraced to the 50% level. Right on cue, all the positive extremes from those moves got filled back in, so it's pretty nice. I mean, that's an attractive looking chart, very clean on those setups, no objections whatsoever. So I think that this added volatility is going to be a good thing. It's something we talked about going into the beginning of this month, and that when we didn't see a bump from the fund money coming in, that there would be some profit taking from that, which would cause volatility ranges. Here you go. So, beautiful. As always, though, could you look for me on the Skype chat? I didn't need to post it, and this stuff was so clean. It was pretty straightforward. As always, trade well.